All right, I think we can go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone. Today we are going to dive into how you can enhance PK Encrypt for and with us today are Tate Hamill, our Chief Product Innovator, IBM Systems, and then Joe Nagel, the Manager of Technical Support. So I'll pass it off to you guys.
Fantastic. Certainly appreciate that, Caitlin. And thank you to prospects, partners, and any customers that are out there with us. I think I see some. But thank you for taking your time out of your busy day to join us for this short but relevant webinar regarding PK Encrypt and unlocking the full potential of what PK Encrypt can offer your organization. So we've only got 30 minutes, so let's go ahead and jump right on into this. So I think everybody understands that companies clearly have a fiduciary responsibility to protect sensitive and PII data of their customers, employees, and certainly their beneficiaries. And that's exactly what these huge regulatory mandates attempt to achieve. But I think we all understand that the cost to achieve these various mandates can be costly and quite expensive, right? But there's nothing compared to the fines associated with regulatory infractions or a data breach that leads to costly ransoms. And I think certainly worst of all is the cost of damage to your company's reputation and possible future revenue. And just when you thought that these mandates were already rigid, they have all recently undergone mandate hardening. And this essentially means that the requirements are being strengthened, right? And with one particular standout in the data security space, and that is end-to-end encryption. And I believe this hardening is essentially designed to fill in the gaps that are prominent in today's off-prem data transfers and data sharing. I think all too often, and Joe can back me up on this, is that when you copy data that is encrypted on disk, that data loses its disk-based protection. And then that unprotected copy then gets inserted into a transfer portal where it then gets encrypted, gets spit out on the other side where it's no longer encrypted, right? This is the problem. And this process is really heavily fragmented where it's encrypted, non-encrypted, re-encrypted, no longer encrypted. This is no longer acceptable. Second thing is, what's a conversation about security without bringing up quantum, right? So with nearly weekly to monthly breakthroughs in quantum computing, sense of urgency around post-quantum crypto or PQC, it's real. And finally, the P11 is equipped with the 4770 crypto card that appears to be the standard at IBM for PQC. At PKWARE, we've worked with it extensively on IBM Z and believe that basically our familiarity with it will bring PQC FIPS standards to the IBM market sooner rather than later for us. And then finally, all this essentially needs automation that is obviously auditable and scalable. And this is that whole observability, visibility requirement, right? So regardless, all these mandates and frameworks have persistent end-to-end data security at their core. And with that said, go ahead and jump into PK Encrypt overview. So we're talking about unbreakable, persistent encryption across all states of data. So PK Encrypt protects sensitive data at rest, and transit, and motion, and use. So it ensures that all files remain encrypted even when copied, moved, or even emailed. That's basically us working seamlessly with that auxiliary storage pool encryption. There's the granular options of files, fields, data, buffers, file names. It doesn't matter. We can encrypt it. And we've got flexible options via advanced key and certificate management. At the time when we wrote this, IBM did not have any native search store with the system, and obviously with the P11 and recent OS advances, there's now some infrastructure in place. But now we can leverage the PK certificate store that comes with the product to manage public and private certificates, keyrings, intermediate and trusted certificate authority, and a certificate revocation list. And of course, all that's backed by NIST and FIPS standards. As mentioned before, there's nothing prescriptive about what we do or how we do it. It's just that in the end, we drop it in a highly portable zip file, right? So all of our support for X.509 and OpenPGP, strong password encryption, signing via AES, all that's done to IBM and NIST standards and open standards, right? So we haven't like reinvented the wheel or anything like that. So this is what makes PK Encrypt's encryption solution very easy to leverage with what you have today, or you can use what we've got, such as our PK Encrypt search store. So again, there's definitely ways to manage all that and make this easy for you. But again, all these approaches are always 100% cross-platform compatible, right? So PK Encrypt, as you probably know with PK Zip, you create a file using our product, you can send that anywhere and be able to unzip that. Well, we basically drop all that encrypted, strongly encrypted data into a zip file that a lot of you are already used to working with. And it makes it easy to kind of piggyback on existing workflows that you have today if you happen to be a PK Zip customer. But again, always 100% cross-platform compatible, even with all this strong password, X.509 or OpenPGP encryption. Protection against data breaches. Now, I think we all hear about data breaches really all the time. I mean, they're at least once a week, if not more. Our stance at PKWARE is essentially not what if, but rather when are you going to be breached? And I think, essentially your adherence to these regulatory standards will tell a lot about how successful you're going to be in stopping these threats. But end-to-end encryption at rest, in motion, with no gaps is literally the only way to stop this threat. You're going to have your leads and feeds and protecting the parameter and your network, all that stuff, it always fails. So the stopgap measure is to assume that they're going to steal your data, which is a horrible theory that you have to run with. But let's just assume they're going to steal your data. If it's protected with encryption, there's nothing they can do with it. That's why PK Encrypt security travels with your data no matter where it goes. And this really is what makes us kind of part and parcel of this built-in compliance support, right? We meet mandates like PCI DSS and GLBA, HIPAA, et cetera, and more. We have these audit-ready logs and reports for internal and external reviews, creating this visibility and observability. But again, what we do with PK Encrypt feeds directly into this compliance-based support. So great for running those reports, finding out what's encrypted, what's not. And using even PK Protect, if you've heard of that, to find sensitive data and then being able to use PK Encrypt to apply that strong security against those discovery results. But ultimately, we enhance trust and reliability with seamless integrations with our batch jobs and workflows. So, you could, if you're an existing customer, you could preserve existing processes while enhancing your data security. So, right, if you're an existing PK Zip user, it's easy to add a security layer around your data that's already part of an existing batch process or workflow. And then you can achieve complete end-to-end persistent encryption workflows, creating an impenetrable shield around your most valuable assets. And I think ultimately, once you have achieved this milestone, you're going to usher in this period of rest and reliability in the eyes of your customers and investors. So really is a sweet spot that you want to be in. It's the goal mode. It's the milestone that we're all trying to achieve, is persistent end-to-end encryption. And this, again, secures that data no matter what happens, and regardless of there's a breach or not. But again, you should really take the mindset that, hey, let's just assume this data is going to get stolen. Now what happens? And that's why persistent end-to-end security is the solution to that. So anyway, I think that's a big chunk of it. I think I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Joe to talk about one of my favorite features, which is Partner Link. Take it away, Joe.
All right, thanks, Tate. Partner Link is a program we came up with many years ago that allows our PK Encrypt customers to securely share data with their business partners. And as you can see from the diagram, it pretty much works on a hub and spoke kind of type of model where the PKWARE customer is a sponsor. They own PK Encrypt, and they can create strongly encrypted zip archives to share with their business partners. And the neat thing is if the partner doesn't have our PK Encrypt software, we give them software that they can use to exchange these files with their business partners for free. They get the software for free, and the sponsor is, being part of this program. Their business partners, if they have any technical questions about the PartnerLink product that they're using, they can call my support team and get free support for this product. It's really a neat way for our customers to ensure that the data they're exchanging between their partners is secure. Either way, actually, the partners can send stuff back to the sponsor as well. And as Tate alluded to, these archives can be created on the iSeries, but they can be extracted on any platform, from iSeries to Windows to Mac to mainframe. And the data coming back from those platforms can be read by the iSeries. So it's really pretty cool. Tate, is there any, that's the 10,000 foot level.
Yeah.
Do you want me to get down in the weeds, or?
Well, so, I think just to kind of complement what you said, I think that, I think one of the biggest challenges that PartnerLink addresses is that it addresses the challenge of like this, trying to coordinate this end-to-end security plan, not just between the organization that's trying to set this up, but all of its intended business partners, right? And I think one of the most drastic cases about PartnerLink that we have is that we've got a customer in Japan who has I think a little over 4,000 different partners. And every single one of those partners, they either already had our product or came out to our website, downloaded it. Thankfully, our products, I'll insist, is straightforward to install and configure. But if they had to, they called us to get that support, to get the walkthrough, the assistance they need to get it installed. And then that sponsor in Japan was able to send out this sponsored distribution package, or this SDP that you see in this diagram here, and send that out to all 4,000 recipients of this encrypted data, right? So once that SDP was in there, the sponsor was immediately able to start sending encrypted and signed data to their targets. And really, so what this does is it really solves a big challenge of trying to coordinate, hey, what solution are we going to use? Or, hey, we may have decided to use OpenPGP or X.509, whatever, for encrypting and signing. However, what solution are we going to use? Well, PK Encrypt, we make that extremely easy with PartnerLink. So there's kind of a no quibbles approach to solving what many see as a complex process, right? And I will admit, if you had to sit there and do these exchanges with 4,000 unique partners, that could become pretty much overburdened. But I think in the end, the way that this is set up, come to PKWARE for everything except for the SDP that your sponsor is going to allow you to download. And again, they just drop this SDP that is created for the sponsor. They just download it and put that into a folder, into their PK Encrypt installation folder, and they're off and running. So again, it's a very straightforward process, and it addresses really a big challenge for those organizations that need to exchange data, daily or multiple times a day with the Treasury Department or clearing houses or just simply business partners, right? So it's a big win for those who can solve a big challenge like that. And gosh, I guess one more thing, Joe, is that, it might be one thing for organizations or bigger business partners that have the infrastructure to support this type of technology. But there's also a lot of small, medium-sized businesses that don't have the IT infrastructure to really figure this out or even get it implemented. And we make that easy. And for those 4,000 of those business partners, at least half of them, if not more, fell into that category. So I think that, PartnerLink really is a one-stop shop for solving a wide array of security, data exchange, security issues that would naturally crop up. And it's been a big success for us. We've got plans to make this even more simplified. But again, right now, we're pretty happy with what we've brought to the customer base at this point in time. But for those who haven't used it yet, kind of keep your eyes out for more things to come on that front. All right, so so I guess collectively, that is PK Encrypt, right? It's basically built on PK Zip, so it's got all the capabilities that PK Zip does in terms of all of its file handling capabilities and its integration with this and that. But so it's got a lot of modern cybersecurity tools built on top of this PK Zip baseline. So I think we talk about it being built on the foundation of PK Zip, which was, it's been running for a long time, since 1995 on IBM I and AS400 back then. And PK Encrypt began its true mission 21 years ago. So that's really 2 decades that this product has been running stable and reliable, and it was built on top of another 9 years of PK Zip running on the AS400. So again, there's a lot of good pedigree associated with PK Encrypt, and the customers that have been using it have been extremely satisfied. And I think generally speaking, we've all been waiting for a long time for there to be the Power 11 to come out with a new crypto card that's ushering in the post-quantum crypto era. And so, alas, it is here. We're excited to get started on a really a long journey of support for post-quantum crypto. But again, it's all going to continue to build off of this 21 years of PK Encrypt know-how. And like I said, you see in 2006 is when we actually started partnering. So again, all this has been cooking for a long time at PKWARE. And I think that, now that we've seen where we've been and where we are now, I want to take a very short look into the future, the PK Encrypt roadmap for IBM I. I think, I think the biggest thing for us to see is that, PKWARE is pushing extremely hard for post-quantum crypto across the board. We've got a full product set that ranges, obviously, as you're probably aware, all the way from Mac, Windows, bring your own devices, to mainframes, Unix boxes, and of course the Power Platform and IBM I. So again, we've got a lot of products out there that do security, persistent encryption, and that's our biggest objective, is to try to roll this out as close to consistently across the board, so that when we do roll it out, you have a fully compatible solution waiting for you on the other side. So the timing of all this. So I think as you see that we've got a 1704 that we intend to have out before the end of this year here. Hopefully everything's going to happen before the before the beginning of Q4 of 2025. But that's also when we'll be launching fully into our post-quantum crypto build-outs. Now, just so you're aware, the 4770 crypto card is in fact an IBM standard. So this has been on the Z16, which we've got for the mainframe, and it's something that we've got familiarity with. So we expect to be able to rapidly deploy post-quantum crypto. But as you can see here, it's going to take some deprecating of some older algorithms. As an example, why would we ever responsibly let you encrypt something with DES, right? So like triple DES, there might be an excuse for it, but we should never allow you to encrypt something with DES, since it's no longer considered a secure algorithm, right? So we've got to go through, and there's a handful of items like that where we have to deprecate support, make sure it's removed out of the rotation, make sure that nobody else is using it. Then that's going to allow us to go in and fully implement the PKCS11 with KMIP. Also, replace the FIPS 140-2 and 3 algorithms with the new FIPS 203, 204, 205 post-quantum cryptos for key wrapping, digital signing, and stateless hash digital signing. So again, lots of work that's going on right now at the PKWARE engineering bit mines. But nonetheless, all these things are designed to bring post-quantum solutions to our customer base and prospects alike, because we know that there's a lot of customers out there and a lot of just organizations who have been holding encryption off because it's been scary, or there's it's complex, it's too complex, or sometimes it means to them like they don't have access to their data. And so doing this in a responsible manner that brings ease of use, continued ease of use with tight integrations with the IBM I and Power platform, extremely important for PKWARE. And we hope that by the time we get around to releasing the 1704 at the end of this year and release the new PK Encrypt 18.0 next year, hopefully we'll have everybody kind of already in the process of planning how they're going to implement, and then when we drop this, they're ready to start moving forward. But nonetheless, you've got a great team, and Joe Nagel's support team will be able to walk you through installation, configuration, and general setup, and even best practices. You guys are fantastic in our support team. So all things being said, it's kind of ridiculous for me to keep talking at this point in time when the star of the show really is Joe. Joe's worked with more customers and helped them with their PK Encrypt installs, configs, and workflows for protecting sensitive data that it doesn't make really any sense for me to keep talking. So Joe, turn this over to you, buddy, and I'm going to let you steal the screen.
All right, let me move some things around here. And while I'm sharing here, just trying to think of a term to kind of describe PK Encrypt on iSeries. And what I came up with is exceptionally powerful simplicity, kind of building on Tate's kind of ease of use. The product itself, for those familiar with the iSeries, to install the product is a restore lib command. You restore to the library, it's installed. You license it, maybe some initial setup, 30 seconds, whatnot, and you're ready to go. And the process of creating an archive and extracting an archive, you're running commands. Now, can everybody see my screen? Okay. Let me go full screen with commands here. Yeah, PK zip and PK unzip are OS level commands in our library. And the parameter I have here is the very most basic command. I'm creating an archive and I'm telling it a file to put in the archive. This is the basic zip and unzip command. I can pull this into the panels and we can see all the other parameters that are there that are filled by default. And I'll F11 to show keywords. This particular one, I'm going to save it in my library JNZip. The archive I'm going to create is testzip2. The file I'm putting into it is a file called test file from my library JN data. Creating it on QSys, it's a DB. I can create archives on IFS as well. And I'll just go ahead and hit enter and we'll create the archive. And there we go. You can see that it put the file into the archive, gave pretty good. It's a text file. We got 89% compression on that. So basic zip. And I'm gonna, this command will just kind of, that screen that was up before, this command will clear that out. So it'll make it a little easier to see when we do other things here. And to decrypt that is a similar command. Our unzip command, telling it the archive we want to extract from, the type of processing. We can do other things such as we can view it, we can test it, but we're going to extract it. We're going to tell it the library to which we want to extract. This just says, if there's library names saved inside of the archive, we're going to drop it because we're just going to put the file into the archive, or from the archive to the library that we're going to specify here. And if it already is there, we're going to override it. So it completed with errors. It's because I had the wrong archive name. That was my fault. I think that I created zip2 and I tried to extract zip1. That's typo on my part. So we'll go back here. And there we go. Syntax is everything. So it's basically, we pulled the archive or the file out to a new library. And if you can see anything from these commands from the command prompt, you can see how these are. These will fit perfectly into CL programs, and they're made to do that. So these can be part of your daily programs and your batch jobs. Now, we saw how easy it is to zip. So if we take, let me try this. Give me just a second here. Sorry about that. And again, to build on creating a zip archive, you see this will create test zip 8. But with one additional parameter, by adding a passphrase to it, we can create not only a zip archive, but this will be strongly encrypted with AES 256 encryption just by adding the password parameters. Let me pull this into the panel again. And we can see the information again for the archive we're going to create and the file we're going to pull in. I'll page down. We can see by default, when we encrypt or invoke encryption, no matter how we do it with passphrase, certificate, or PGP key, the default is AES 256. And we have our password parameters. And you'll notice we got the greater than signs here. That means that we put values in there, but on our panels, when we pull them in, and also in the job log, the passphrase will not be echoed. So that's part of the security. We got other things we can do. If we want to hide it, we can use a list file, whatnot. But for simplicity for this, I didn't do that, but we can do that. So let me run this really quick. Let me go to the big, okay. This, I didn't clear it out, but this job starts here. And here we created a very simple zip archive. We put a passphrase on it. And as you can see here, we got the same deflation, which is great because when we encrypt, we compress first, then we encrypt, because compression works on redundancy, encryption works on randomization. So if we did it the other way around, the file would probably be about as big as the original. We don't want that. So this takes advantage of being able to zip and encrypt. So we compress the file and we encrypted that compressed file with an AES 256 key built on the passphrase, okay? And it's that simple. Adding one parameter to the zip command invokes the encryption. And if you have existing zip jobs and batch jobs, adding that parameter to those jobs, it's that easy to create an encrypted archive. And a neat thing about PK Encrypt, if you're currently using PKZip, this product is a one-to-one replacement for PKZip. All of your PKZip jobs on iSeries will run perfectly on PK Encrypt. So we'll do a real quick decrypt here. Wait a minute. We'll clear that out, so this will be a little cleaner. Basically the same as the last unzip job. The only thing we're adding to it is that we are adding the passphrase to decrypt it, okay? And there we go. That's as easy as it gets. And the neat thing about this is on the iSeries, we're an episodic platform. We can, as we're putting the file into the archive, we can translate that data into ASCII if these are going off platform. And what it will do, it will not only create ASCII text inside of the archive, it'll also take care of the carriage, return, and line feeds that the ASCII platforms look for in data files. Let me.
So for everybody that we understand that we're kind of at time here.
Okay.
So anybody that's got a few extra minutes to stick around, please do. If you have any questions, drop them into the chat, and we will we'll get your questions answered and respond to the attendees as a whole. So, but Joe, go ahead and wrap this up there.
Okay. Just real quick, I won't run through them, but I'll show examples of certificate-based encryption. Now with certificates for X.509 certs, we can, as on like Windows CAPI store, we can store them in a database, and we can refer to the certificate by its like common name or whatnot in the database to invoke encryption. This will create a certificate encrypted zip archive. And similarly on the unzip, we would also point to the database to decrypt with the private key for this public key that we would use to encrypt that. And real quick, I don't want to forget PGP keys. We also do process PGP. The commands are a little different. The PGP commands are separate because they're creating the PGP archives. But here you can see we're creating a PGP archive, putting a file in it. We give it a keyring definition where we're pointing that definition to a public keyring. And then for the enterprise recipient, it's very similar to what we did with the X.509, except this is pointing to an email address for a PGP key instead of an X.509. And similarly, on the decrypt, we're going to do a definition for a secret keyring. And then on the enterprise recipient, we're going to have the email address or common name or whatnot for that key, as well as a passphrase for that key to create and decrypt PGP files. Okay. Tate, anything else? I think you're on mute.
I am on
There
mute.
you are.
It works better when you untoggle that. No, Joe, I appreciate the
Okay.
the brevity, but yet the fullness of what you're able to show. So yeah, PK Encrypt, like I said, whether it's a simple zip job and you're migrating as an existing PK zip customer, or you're just simply brand new to the solution. Obviously, zipping and unzipping, straightforward process. You've probably done it for decades elsewhere. But when it comes to encrypting, we obviously have done, I'll say, put many years or decades into making this as seamless and as transparent as possible, making it as easy for you to leverage and use. And again, PartnerLink is also one of those things that helps you take these encrypted zip files and share those with the distributed world that you need to share your sensitive data with. So I guess as quickly as we try to wrap that up, apologize that there is no more time, but certainly please drop your questions into the chat. And then I guess with that being said, I guess Caitlin, are you out there? You got anything you want to share at the last second?
No, if you can just drop your questions in the chat if you have any, and we'll take a moment to see if we get any. And if not, you can just email me at Caitlin, KATELYN.Shull, SHULL, at PKWARE.com, and I'll make sure to forward those to Tate and Joe and get back to you on the answer. Thank you all so much for joining.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good one. Thank you.
Take care.